Good morning and welcome back to your weekend unboxing here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to take a look at G.I. Joe Mission Critical from Renegade Game Studios. Now this is a reimagining of the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid board game by the same company. It features G.I. Joe versus their archenemies Cobra, traveling around the world to try and defeat Cobra Commander and, as they say, save the day. Now, before we get started, do make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few different videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, and I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. Now, before we get into the actual unboxing, I will admit this is a game that I was not planning on purchasing. I am a huge fan of G.I. Joe and pretty much have been since I received my first figures back in about 1984. This game was launched on Kickstarter, I believe in 2001. And as I was watching the videos, there were some issues and concerns that I had with it. And I'll actually get into those a little bit more when I do the unboxing, but basically it came down to the miniatures that were being provided for the game. Now, since then, I have heard many good things about the game, and I've also come to a couple of realizations about the miniatures where it's not really the problem that I thought it was, and in fact, it might actually be a benefit. But with that all out of the way, let's open this up and take a look. All right, now, first thing that I do want to point out is right now my camera is zoomed all the way out on the infamously small work table. And as you can tell, right now, there's about 3 inches of space that just doesn't even fit into the camera. And that's just at the bottom of the box. You know, this thing is absolutely massive. It's about 5 inches deep. It's about 13 inches across. I'm not even entirely sure this is going to fit on the Kallax. It might, but it's going to be a tight fit, so let's just leave it at that. But let's open it up and get into it. Actually, real quick, I do like to comment on the box. I like what they've done here. They've got the spot varnish on our G.I. Joe heroes, but they feature the 5 heroes available in the game, and then around the outside they feature the 5 main villains that you're going to get to face as well. You know, kind of subdued, put into the background. I really, really like the look of the box. Renegade Game Studios, if nothing else, really nails the art on these games. On the back, we have basically a description of all of the components. They do mention the expansion, Heavy Firepower, which is actually the first expansion. They've actually released more since this game was originally released, but they do put that on there. Look for an unboxing video on that next week. And overall, I mean, just from the outside, I'm pretty happy with it. All right, so let's look at this real quick. I didn't notice this. It's pretty subtle, but we've got some spot varnish on the side of the inner box that shows off some of the heroes, and then again some of the villains, but then just uses a spot varnish for the name. I know you can barely see it down here on the screen, but I can't really fit it in the screen otherwise. So there's that, but I think that's just a fun little touch. All right, we've got our rule book at about 24 pages, including the covers. Basically, we're going to break down all of the components, game setup, how the game plays. Lots of very, very large text, which I like. Lots of diagrams of the cards. So hopefully it's a lot easier to play. I will admit, when I played the G.I. Joe deck building game, that rulebook is kind of a mess, I will admit. All right, this actually I think is kind of cool. Crossover rules. So The game is fully compatible with Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid and future Guardian Systems games, so they might be using this some more. They have the license for Transformers. I'd be shocked if they don't use that, especially since they've been kind of doing some crossover stuff like with the role-playing game. So I'd be surprised if we don't see a Transformers version of this game coming soon. But that's cool. Just a little ad for other games that they've got. The quick start rules. So if you already know how to play from playing Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, you've got, just, hey, here's the stuff that's different. Otherwise, this is how you play. All right, so lots of cardboard. So we've got our different locations around the world. I'm assuming these are hits. Overall, like, the art is nice. The cardboard's a little thin, but not too bad. Different icons. It's a... Okay, I like this. I think this is supposed to represent the pit or G.I. Joe headquarters. But overall, the look is nice. The printing is clean. Has a very, like, 80s comic book kind of feel to it, which, for old school G.I. Joe, I'm okay with that. They're kind of Renegade's kind of interesting because they mix and match a lot of the old school, plus a lot of the new classified looks for the characters. Like on the box cover that you can see about right here, like Duke. That's the classified version of the Duke as opposed to the classic version of Duke. But then Snake Eyes and CoverGirl are classic versions. Scarlet and Stalker are both classified versions. So they mix and match. I think it kind of depends on which versions have made it to the classified edition. But regardless, they're pretty respectful of all of the properties. So that I think is actually pretty cool. We do have the two different versions. So I understand what they're doing. Like, it looks like they've got a basic and a more advanced, because like right here, Space Station Delta at the start of each battle in this location gain 1, I'm assuming, energy. Whereas that particular power is not present on the yellow version. Personally, I would have rather they had done, say, like, different locations. Just leave the bonus on it, and then they can just say, for a basic version of the game, don't use this. Unless, of course, I'm totally misunderstanding it and, like, you change it during the game. I don't know. Again, this is an unboxing. I'm just kind of giving you my first impressions. All right, we have kind of an organization board. Single-sided, just some cool art on the back, though. I'm guessing this is a Cobra organization board. Again, double-sided with some art. We got it's Major Blood on that for a second there. For some reason, I thought it was Storm Shadow, but he is not present in this box. All right, we've got baggies. Again, if you've been here any length of time, you know that I love when a manufacturer includes baggies. All right, and then we've got the miniatures. All right, so there's a lot of dead space in this box. I'm not sure that this box needed to be this large. Like, it'd be nice as far as being able to add in like different expansions, keep it all in one, but then you lose out on the trays, which, if you're going to paint your miniatures, like I probably will, you're going to lose out on that. But that is a problem to deal with later on. All right, they tape this closed. All right, so we get 12 Cobra Troopers and 12 Crimson Guard. Let's take these out. Now, these are from the Kickstarter page. I think these are 38 millimeter miniatures. Yeah, 38 millimeters tall. So they are a little bit tall. Where is it? Ah, all right. So this was one of the things that I was going to bring up earlier. So this right next to him is Stalker from the G.I. Joe role-playing game miniature set. And as you can tell, that's a bit different. Now, they are both on 1-inch bases, so that's nice. But that does also kind of change my original idea. My original idea would be that for like role-playing game use, be able to use the Cobra Troopers and the Crimson Guard. I think it'll be okay, but they're still... I mean, that's a significant size difference. That's like Stalker barely comes up to this Cobra Trooper's shoulder. So, little disappointing, little frustrating. But overall, I mean, the miniature itself, if this is the only game you're playing, the miniature is really solid. There's a lot of good detail. It looks probably more like a classified version because of like all the extra armor plates. Armor plate here on the back. But it still feels like a classic Cobra Trooper. Alright, we then have the Crimson Guard. So these are supposed to be like the Cobra Elite Troopers. Now these very much look like the original. They look a little thin, I would say. The torso seems a little long, especially this little, we'll call it the groin covering, for lack of a better way to put it. But they have like their classic backpacks. The fact that they have the AK-47 with the attached bayonet, like the original figures did come with. This makes me happy. I like these. So they are still a little tall, but I think they'll multi-purpose into the role-playing game pretty well. Because my understanding is that the role-playing game, they're only going to be getting pawns for like the trooper bad guys as opposed to full figures. All right, so on the next tray, now these are your heroes and your boss and lieutenant and nemesis miniatures. So boss, nemesis, lieutenants. Actually, I got that completely wrong. These are lieutenants. That's a nemesis. That's a boss. We'll get into that in a second. But we have our troopers. Now, actually, so we've got Stalker next to Stalker. So the RPG miniature is about half the size of the Mission Critical figure. But so this was the thing that kind of disappointed me in the original, when the Kickstarter was announced, because it's like, why do I have giant hero and boss figures, but then I only have small trooper figures? So I didn't like the mismatch on the scale. I think I'm being a little nitpicky. Overall, like the detail on these is really good. You can see the tread at the bottom of his boots. Overall, these are really good. I might do a review of just the miniatures on their own. I don't know. We'll see. We then have Scarlet. Now, keep in mind, this is a classified version of Scarlet. And when I say classified, I mean the classified series of figures. The figure itself isn't secret, obviously. But overall, they look really good. They've got nice defined faces. Got snake eyes. These are gonna be a lot of fun to paint up. So, I mean, that's a little annoying, but Happens all the time with PVC figures, unfortunately. There's not really a fix to it. We've got Duke. Again, representing the classified version with his Nerf gun rifle. Look it up. And then we've got Cover Girl. Which, it always kind of surprises me that they always add Cover Girl because she's a tank driver. I don't know. Whatever. That's me being nitpicky. All right. We then have Dr. Mindbender. So these definitely, this white plastic definitely needs some paint. The green, I actually could see the details pretty well. The white washes out a lot. But we've got Dr. Mindbender, shirtless, of course, with his cloak. We've got Copperhead, the water moccasin driver. Again, not sure why he's included. He drives a boat. We've got Major Blood. You can add him in anywhere. He fits. But really good there. The Baroness. Again, just kind of a default. Now, it is kind of odd to have the Baroness without Destro, but just wait. They have expansions. In fact, Destro does come in the expansion. So if you want to see him, come back next week. And we've got Cobra Commander. Now, this is absolutely the classified version of Cobra Commander, but there's lots of nice detail. Looks like snake skin kind of here on his side. Definitely this is going to have to get painted up so that it looks better. So I'm also kind of curious to see if I can stretch my painting skills a little bit on these larger figures. All right, we then have, all right, and real quick, look, we've got dice. These are bigger. Like, they look like the same as the deck building game dice, but bigger. So that's kind of interesting. Not sure why they made bigger dice. All right. We have cards for all of our heroes. Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Cover Girl, and Stalker. This is also really interesting. This is old style Stalker. Like, I remember the character when it came out in figure originally and he was wearing camouflage. But then in the figure, he's wearing like a blazer. I don't know. I don't question that, but it's, again, it's just nice how they're mixing and matching. That's actually kind of cool. The backside, you've got that nice piece of art from the cover. All right, so we've got different vehicles. This is on nice heavy cardstock. I really like this. Got them. Can I zoom out a little bit? Oh, yes, I can. All right, so we've got the Flak, the MMS, the Mobat, the Ram, the Vamp, and the Wolverine. Oh, okay, so, Cover Girl does get her tank. That's good. It's an unboxing, folks. Give me some time to get through the stuff. All right, so we've got lots of cards. Lots of different cards. So, all right, that's interesting. I'm not sure if these are all individual decks for these characters. Because then you have different front sides. So we've got Cobra Commander, Baroness, Major Blood, Mindbender, Copperhead. Okay, I'm obviously going to have to read the rules on this. So maybe they all get shuffled up and that's the next unit that comes up. I don't know. All right, so these are different locations. Okay, I'm guessing these are spawn points. So, like, which bad guys come out. Alright, and then we've got different actions for the heroes, I'm assuming. Again, the art on this is great. I have zero complaints about this. I'm not sure how much of it is recycled from Hasbro, how much of it is new art, but overall, outside of like a few exceptions where it's like, was that the best choice they could have gone with? None of them I think are bad choices. They're overall they're really good art and pretty excited. Cobra Commander, Baroness, Major. Okay, this is actually kind of interesting how they did this art. They've got this colorized section, but then they have the rest of it in grayscale behind. Interesting choices. So, that's cool. Wow, that is a lot of material that I am going to have to dig through. Again, overall, I am a huge fan of G.I. Joe, and I'm looking forward to playing this. It just depends on how much I can get the wife and the children interested in it, but we'll see. But regardless, I hope you're curious as much as I am. Regardless, if you've played this before or if you've been looking at it yourself, what intrigues you the most, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. But other than that, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I do try to put out a few different videos each week covering, all sorts of tabletop content. I'd love for you to come along. With that said, though, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.